and welcome to Vlogmas Day. I was going to hold up my hands then, but I realised it's day 12, so that doesn't really work. I don't have 12 fingers. So yeah, I thought I would do something a bit different today because yeah, obviously like the next couple of weeks, my weeks are going to be quite samey because I'm working Monday to Friday, so the weekends might be a bit more exciting, but I will be writing most of the time and then hopefully getting in some crafting. Today I did get in a little bit of sewing of my dress, which was great, and you will have seen some of that in yesterday's vlog. So I thought that I might mix things up and do some little videos like interspersed, which are a bit more sort of just chatty. So the first thing I wanted to say is I was thinking I might do a Q&A at some point. I've had lots and lots of lovely comments on my Vlogmas, most of which I have replied to. But if you have any questions that you would like answered, then please do leave them in the comments. You don't necessarily have to leave them in the comments of this video. You could just leave them in wherever and I'll try and get to those. If I do like a full Q&A video, and then like I miss some of the comments, some of the questions, I can always answer those at the end of other Vlogmases. I'll pop out a Q&A on my Instagram as well. So yeah, I thought I'd do that because that's always fun and I often get asked a lot of questions which I try to answer in the comments, but yeah. But for today I thought that I would do a little Christmas book. It's not really a haul, I own all of these. I don't know what you want to call it, just Christmas books, recommendations and suggestions, and there's lots of different categories that I've got here. So yeah, let's dive in. Let's dive in to begin with fiction, shall we? So at the moment I am reading, hang on a minute, it's the one at the bottom. hang on. At the moment I am reading this by Kathy Bramley. I have read a lot of Kathy Bramley's books. They're super cozy, just chill out romance books. I really enjoy them when I just need to like shut my brain off. This one's been really good actually. I think this is one of her best that I've ever read. There's a bit more to it. It's quite emotional because there's a character in it who has dementia and my nana sadly passed away from, she had Alzheimer's disease, and so I'm finding it quite emotional to read, but it's very beautifully and sensitively written. But I just want to preface that by saying it is actually a sequel. So this is the first book, which I read a few years ago when it first came out, and then this is the second one, which I think came out last year, and I picked it up last year and I just didn't get a chance to read it. So you might want to read the first one first, which has a lovely romance in it. It's about a lady who sets up her own candle business. So it's super cozy. It's set in a beautiful village in Derbyshire near Manchester, in the Peak District, and it's just super cozy and lovely. So if you're looking for like a little Christmassy series, I would pick those two up. Highly recommend those ones. And then I recently finished this. Now I'm a big fan of Laurie Gilmore. So this is The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore. This is her third book. Now they are set in the same town and some of the characters reappear, which is really nice to sort of check in with them, but they're definitely not like a series. You could read this by itself. You don't need to read the first two. But if you did want to read the first two, which are autumn romances, you might want to do that first because otherwise you'll find out who's with who and all that kind of stuff and what's happening there. There's obviously some spoilers in here. But as I say, it's very much a standalone story. Laurie Gilmore's books are super like cozy and romantic, but I will just say they are fairly spicy, which I did not expect when I picked them up because they look so cute and so sweet. And then I started reading them and I was like, woo, okay. So if that's not your thing, pass it by. But I quite enjoy them. It's very well written. It's very female centered, consensual, safe, etc., which is nice to read. So yeah, I really enjoyed reading these. So this one is set on a Christmas tree farm. I really enjoyed this one because the guy in it is like a really geeky software developer guy who is like really sweet and kind, and she buys herself a farm. And this is no spoilers, by the way, this is like at the beginning of the book. She buys herself a farm, Christmas tree farm, because she wants to go and live the homesteader life. So I was like, well, if ever there was a Christmas book for me, my husband is a software developer and I want to buy a homestead. So I was like, fabulous. So yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Now this I read years ago. I think it came out in 2018, and I read it in 2018, and then I read it again last year because I love it so much. It is a really cozy romance set in Denmark. The main character in it goes to Denmark. It's called Hygge and Kisses, and there's like a big snowstorm, and you know, they get trapped in, you know, or one of those, like, you know, I always love those where it's like, oh no, we have to stay inside together, and uh-oh, we've now fallen in love. So I really enjoy that one. So would highly recommend Hygge and Kisses. That is definitely a cozy Christmas. Now this one is actually a sequel again, so you will need to read the first one, but this is Christmas at Rosie Hopkins' Sweet Shop, and I think the first one is called Rosie Hopkins' Sweet Shop of Dreams. Jenny Colgan is one of my favourite authors. I have read basically all of her books. I think she has changed her writing style recently, and I've been less, I think as well, I've grown and changed, so I've been less obsessed with her books in the last couple of years. But before that, for about a decade, I just read Jenny Colgan books like crazy. I've still got loads of them, and I do really love this one. This is one of my favourite series. I think there's 3 books. I think there is another, is there another Christmas book in this series? I think there might be. I think there is the first one, which is not Christmas, it's just a normal book. Then there's this one, and then I think there's a third one which is also set at Christmas time. So it's quite a good series to get into. As I say, you'll need to read the first one, which is set, I think, is it like springtime or something? I don't know. But it's really cozy. Again, in Derbyshire, funnily enough, in a Derbyshire village, Rosie takes over an old sweet shop and falls in love, and it's all very lovely. And then, as I say, Christmas. Yeah, because the next one's called The Christmas Surprise, which is, as I say, the third one. So that's a really good series to get into. Now, I've not read this one. I just picked it up at the library. This is Meet Me Under the Northern Lights by Emily Kerr. This is published by One More Chapter, who are one of my favourites to go for romance fiction as a publisher. They're the ones who publish Laurie Gilmore. They also publish somebody else who is not a romance author. She's a fantasy author that I follow on Instagram, and I really like her stuff. They specialise basically in publishing young, unknown fiction writers, mostly crime, romance, and a bit of fantasy, which I really appreciate, being a young, unknown author myself. My first book's coming out next year. It is so hard to break into the market to get your book published, so I really think yeah, it's nice that as a publisher, I think they're a subsidiary of HarperCollins, and it's basically just to try and help people break into the market, which I think is great. Anyway, this one is set in the Arctic Circle, so she sort of escapes. She has to escape because something goes viral, and she has to run away, and she ends up, you know, under the Northern Lights, falling in love, blah blah blah. I think I read that it was like a slow burner. It says fabulously fun by Kathy Bramley on the back. It's endorsed, so I'm like, well, if Kathy Bramley says it's good, this is going to be my next read once I finish the Kathy Bramley one I'm reading at the moment. So I'll probably be reading this actually over Christmas, which is going to be really nice, because I have a feeling often these ones go over Christmas and into the new year when it's in like a winter wonderland, which will be great. And now moving on to some classics. So I really love Little Women for this time of year, because it starts at Christmas. I know obviously it goes over years and years and years, but it starts at Christmas, and it always feels like a Christmassy book to me. And the film always feels like a Christmassy film to me, because it starts in the snow and Christmas. And who doesn't want like the Little Women Christmas? I mean, the decorations, the, you know, beautiful simplicity and generosity, and like the Christian spirit of it all. I'm just like, oh, Little Women Christmas, that's the dream. I'm hoping next year, when we are in our new cottage that we're buying, that we can recreate Little Women Christmas. So yeah, I have got this lovely copy, which is part of I have the penguin cloth bounds, I collect them. And yeah, this is really beautiful. And the next two are actually also penguin cloth bounds as well. So the next one is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I love this. Christmas Carol is such a short book as well. It's more of a like novella. It's really very short, and so it's quite easy to sit and read it like for a few days before. I mean, depending on how fast a reader you are, but I've done it before where I've started it on like the 20th of December and I'm done by the 24th, and I just like read a chunk a night, and it just like gets me in the Christmas spirit. It's just such beautiful language, beautifully written. I mean, Charles Dickens is obviously a classic author, but this copy that I have includes some of his other Christmas stories and Christmas writings. He did quite a lot of Christmas short stories and Christmas writings, which is really, really nice. So I got that one, and then this one I haven't read. I picked this up last year and I actually still haven't read it, and this is the Penguin Book of Christmas Stories, which is a sort of anthology of different stories. It says from Christian Andersen to Angela Carter. I'm not sure about Angela Carter. She tends to write quite scary things. But I thought that looked quite interesting, so I haven't read that one yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And then I don't have a copy of this on me, but I just don't think you can beat a murder mystery at Christmas. I mean, like, come on, it's so cozy. Obviously, like traditionally in the Victorian times and pre-Victorian times, we would tell ghost stories at Christmas, and I think murder mysteries are kind of part of that like thriller, suspense, bit of scary, you know, that people like at Christmas. There's normally a cozy Agatha Christie on the TV in the UK at Christmas. So I'm going to recommend, I think it's called The Christmas Pudding. Is it The Christmas Pudding Adventure? By Agatha Christie, which is a really, really fun one. It's a really fun story. There's quite a few actually, I think, set at Christmas. She's got a couple that are set at Christmas. There's also that one, I can't remember the name of it. Like, is it Hunter's Lodge? Where it's like really snowy. No, I don't think it is. I think that's a different one. Anyway, the Adventure of the Christmas Pudding, I think, is just a classic Agatha Christie for Christmas time. And then there is also Hercule Poirot's Christmas. That is another great one. I think that's a short one. So if you're looking for a cozy murder mystery that is Christmas themed, those are those. Okay, now we're going to be moving on to not fiction. So let's start with like seasonal Christmas books. So this one actually goes across all the seasons. This is Slow Seasons by Rosie Steer. This is a beautiful book, a creative guide to reconnecting with nature and the Celtic ways. So this follows the Celtic wheel, the traditional pagan seasonal wheel of the year in the UK, and it's just really beautiful. It's very much like connected with nature and the seasons, and so obviously it's going through, I think there are 6 festivals in the Celtic wheel, so it goes through all of those, and the last one in the book is Yule, and so I'm sort of recommending it for that. But I would recommend it as a lovely book to sort of center yourself in the present season and learning to enjoy the present season. We're not very good at that in our culture today, is that we're always jumping to the next thing. We're not very good at sort of hunkering down and enjoying like winter and where we are, and I just think this is a great book for encouraging some really interesting and traditional ideas, like sort of regardless of what you believe at Christmas time. I think that this is still a really lovely book, so I highly recommend that one. And then I thought this would be quite a useful book to talk about. Oh, hang on a minute, I've got so many books down here. If you're somebody who struggles with winter, who finds it, you know, bleak, dark, cold time of year, and you're not really sure what to do with yourself, and you find, you know, the lack of vitamin D and things obviously really affect everybody. Take your vitamin D, guys. But I would recommend this book, which is The Little Book of Hygge, The Danish Way to Live Well. So Nordic countries, the Danes especially, but I think in all the Nordic countries, they know how to do winter because they don't have a choice, because they have 24 hours of darkness in some places. I mean, you know, up in the top regions of Scotland, they have the same thing. I always forget every year we go up at Christmas/New Year to see Russell's family in Scotland, and I always forget, like, we go up there and the light's gone by 3:30. You know, here we have it until 4. That's not amazing, but you go to Scotland and it's gone by 3:30. And this is just a great book on how to experience hygge, which is basically, it's really hard to explain because we don't have a direct translation. It's like a sense of being cozy and content and having community, and it's just a really interesting concept. And I just think, like, it encourages things like, you know, enjoying candlelit evenings with hot chocolate. It's simple joys, simple pleasures, and very much focused. Like, you can get very hygge in the winter. That's the idea. You get very cozy, you get very, like, you know, so you embrace it rather than running away from it. So I would recommend that one if you struggle in the winter. And then this one is one of my absolute favourites. This is River Cottage, Christmas at River Cottage by Lucy Brazier, and this is just amazing. If you're somebody like me that likes a handmade, homegrown and slow Christmas, this is the book for you. This basically starts, I think it starts in the summer, like basically going through some of the stuff you might want to think about doing. So it starts with planning, so things like making chutneys with your glut of courgettes that you can put away in the cupboard and have on Christmas Day, maybe planting some vegetables like sprouts and things like that over the summer that you're then going to eat for Christmas, and it takes you right through things like traditional things like Stir Up Sunday, which is traditional time when in the UK you would stir up your Christmas pudding because you like to make it in advance, and then also your Christmas cake you would make in advance as well, and adding brandy to that. And it's just a really lovely, like, slow, simple movement towards the festive season. It's not overwhelming or over the top. It's definitely helps you to be organized and to be planned, but also very mindful, because this is a time of year where over consumption is just rife and people are just going crazy, and it's really materialistic. And you go into the shops, I find the shops really overwhelming this time of year, because it's just like so much plastic and so much like crazy bright colors and flashing lights, and just that's not at all my Christmas. My Christmas is very much handmade, homegrown and slow. And this book is a really detailed, practical guide to that. Loads of amazing recipes, loads of great ideas, decorating, crafting, you know, things that are gentle on the planet, gentle on your energy levels as well. And I just think it's so lovely. It goes right up until New Year's Eve as well. It talks a lot about Betwixtmas, which is my favourite time of year, in between Christmas and New Year. I just love that week of complete quiet. I am definitely going to be trying some of these recipes. Russell and I have decided that on the 23rd of December, we are both working on the 24th, but on the 23rd we're going to have a little Christmas night, and I'm going to make some delicious Christmas nibbles. Rather than buying the really over processed ones, I'm going to make some delicious Christmas nibbles, and I'm going to use a load of these recipes, and I'm just really excited to have a go. And I'm sort of very, like, I read it last year and I was like, I cannot wait to host my own Christmas. I cannot wait to have Christmas in my own home, because we always go to one or other of the parents, but we're now buying a home that's big enough for us to be able to host it ourselves. And I will definitely be using this book as a tool for hosting the best Christmas. Okay, so the final few books that I'm going to recommend, there's been a lot of conversation in the comments about the devotional that I am doing, like following this year for Advent. If you don't know, I am a Christian, and so this time of year is really important to me. And I like to follow some kind of devotional every year. I often do this as well for like Lent, and different times of the year. I just find it's very helpful. So this year I have been doing Mary's Voice, which is by Dr. Amy, I think, Orwing. I don't know how you pronounce that surname. This has been really interesting. It's very different to my usual style, but I have actually really enjoyed it. There are some beautiful reflections and writings in it, and she's also shared some beautiful prayers. So every day there's a different prayer written by a different person. There was a beautiful one by Desmond Tutu yesterday that I really, really enjoyed. And it is just a really stunningly sort of put out book as well, because there's lots of like paintings and stuff. So basically the idea is that there's a Bible verse, a reflection on the Bible verse, there is a prayer by somebody else, and then there's also like a traditional piece of artwork portrayal of the Christmas story, and she goes into like the etymology of the painting, and it's just a really interesting idea, but it's focusing entirely on Mary, which is something that I think a lot of people forget about. I'm not Catholic, so Mary isn't like a big thing in my faith, but she is still a really important part of the Christmas story, and so I think this is a really interesting way to sort of look at her character in the Bible and look at, you know, who she is, and yeah, I just think it's been written really, really well. And then I'd really recommend this one, which I've actually done, I think, 2 or 3 years in a row. I bought this a few years ago, which is Emmanuel, An Invitation to Prepare Him Room at Christmas and Always, by Ruth Chu Simmons. Now, Ruth runs, oh, what is it called? I can't remember what her like business is called. Let me just check. Is it Grace Laced? Anyway, she's a beautiful artist, amazing artist, like really, I mean, this is all of her artwork, and so you can see the book is just stunning. And as I say, I've done this multiple times because of course you do it for 25 days of Advent and then you forget, so then you can just do it the next year, which is how my brain works anyway. So I've done it a few times. I'll probably end up doing it a few more times because it's such a beautiful, beautiful book. It's a really helpful thing to have on the shelf. So if you're somebody who enjoys like sort of visually stunning devotionals, visually inspiring devotionals, I think I would really recommend this one. It's a really, really lovely book, and it has a little ribbon. I love a little ribbon. I am not a page folder, definitely not. I am a bookmark lady. So yeah, that is the other devotional I would recommend. And then the final book I have to share with you, I just picked up, which is supposed to be for 4 to 7 year olds, but I really like it, so I bought it for myself. And that is The First Christmas by Tom Wright. He is a theologian, and he has written a few, I think he's written a few children's books now. And I just think this is stunning. I mean, look at the pictures. Oh, hello. Like, I just absolutely love these. I can't get enough. I mean, look at the illustrations. So I'm probably going to read this on Christmas Eve, you know, take myself off to bed like a 4-year-old and read it to myself. I might read it to my nephews if they're fancy reading it, if they like the look of it. They might want to have a look at it because they are between the ages of 4 and 7, so that works very well. But I just think this is stunning. I think this is a real keepsake book that you bring out every year for Christmas. And if you have children or nephews and nieces or grandchildren or something in your life, this is a really beautiful book to share with them and to share the Christmas story with them. So yeah, highly recommend this. It is really beautiful. So that is it for today's Vlogmas. I just thought I would do a little like sit down, chat through some Christmassy books. If like me, you love to read and you love Christmas, I hope you will have found some inspiration in some of these and you will have enjoyed some of them. As I say, leave me any questions that you have for a Q&A in the comments below, and in a few days time, I will sit down and film that. That is the alarm going off for my lunch. It's now ready, so I better go and get it out the oven. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.